Hi everyone, my name is Chris Martin. Welcome to Keto with me. It is day 11 on my journey back into keto. If you're new to my channel, check out my day 0 video. It gives you the details and reasons and motivations of why I'm doing this video series. All right, it's time for that clip. All right, folks, that was my day 11 clip. As you can see, there was a curveball in there. Yes, you saw cheesecake. We're going to talk about that here in just a second. Let's roll through the numbers. So I had 29 carbs. Surprisingly, the cheesecake wasn't the biggest culprit. It was a salad. Then I had, 1 on my ketones. My blood glucose was, right at 100 exactly. And, I weighed 221.6. And so what's interesting about that is when I stepped on the scale, I took a big sigh of relief and I went, woo, thank God I didn't, gain it. I said, at least I didn't gain any weight. In my mind, 221.6 was what I weighed yesterday. So I was just like, woo. But then when I actually sat down, to type my numbers in, track it and stuff, I was like, whoa, wait a minute, I lost 0.2 pounds. Yay. Whew. Super, super, super happy about that. So I lost 0.2. That gives me a grand total so far of 12.8. So I'm really, really, really tickled about that. My fat macro ratios were 80% on the fat, 4% on the carbs, and then I had 16% on protein. So even though if you looked at what I ate yesterday, it just was, seemed like a monumental amount of food. I even got to the end of the day and went, why did I eat so much food? And I didn't intentionally do that. I mean, if the total grams of fat were like 272, which is really high, which is what I wanted to do. And then, the carbs were 29, and then the protein I want to say is somewhere around like 48. I'd have to actually look at it to tell you for sure. But and even though we don't count calories, I just my eyes glanced at it in the chronometer and I was like 3,500 calories. I was like, oh gosh, I'm not going to lose anything. I'll probably gain something. So I was definitely relieved when that happened. So it was a so my birthday was on a Friday. What my family typically does is that, if your birthday falls on during the week, we have like a, sometimes a short celebration during the week, but then we definitely celebrate it on the weekend. So my wife had all planned it all, and she was like, I'm going to make you cheesecake, and it's got all the right keto ingredients, and I'll just swap out this for this and so forth. And I was like, well, I'm only going to eat it if it's like low in carbs. Now, but let me step back for a second. I don't usually eat anything sweet when I'm doing keto. It's rare. Maybe I shouldn't be that rigid. Yesterday maybe tells me that maybe perhaps I can do that, but I'm going to do that. I'm going to save that for special occasions, and then also after I get to where I'm at, maybe once a month or something. We'll see. I'm just not 100% sold on it. I was terrified to eat it and so forth, but if you look at the ingredients, it pretty much makes sense why it's keto. I mean, you're talking like tons of cream cheese, sour cream, you know, butter and pecans for the crust, and then there were some other minor ingredients in it, like vanilla extract, a tablespoon of flour. We didn't have any almond flour on hand, so she just used regular flour. But if you spread, I'm sorry, it's not a tablespoon. Yeah, it's a tablespoon for, we made a half a recipe too, because we knew we weren't going to probably be eating it all. You spread that out over 12 little cupcake looking, you know, cheesecakes. That's an insignificant amount. So as you can see, that it wasn't a lot of carbs for the 2 little cheesecakes that I ate. And then, you know, egg is in it, you know, so like 95% of the recipe inherently is, aside from the crust, unless you convert the crust, is, you know, keto friendly. And then what do we do for the sugar? Well, we use monk fruit, because we've used monk fruit a ton in the past. You know, when I was on keto, if we did have to have, you know, anything that required sugar in it, which is rare for me to eat, but I told you my family was doing it as well. So anywhere that you would have sugar, you could just replace it with monk fruit. Now, it's not a one-to-one from what I remember, but you kind of figure out what the taste is, you know, how much you need to put in and so forth. My wife, even from the 4 years ago that I first went into keto, the last time she switched, you know, she likes a little bit of sweetness in her coffee, and still does all the way through that 4 years, never switched back to sugar or anything like that. She still continues to do monk fruit. So I'm very tickled that I didn't knock myself way out. You know, again, I'm not planning on doing that anymore. So that got me to thinking when I started watching my videos or my learning for today. I watched 2 solid videos and part of another one. And the reason is I watched one video and it started out like I thought, oh, this will be a really good video. And then I backed off and I was like, no, I don't want to share that. That's not something that I really feel like is relevant at this point. So then, you know, I found another video. I was like, okay, this one's better suited for today's discussion. And then I even started to review a 3rd video, which, you know, that's the video I will share for day 12. So anyway, folks, that is how you can handle, well, not be upset if a curveball comes at you and you feel like you swing and miss at it. I'm, like I said, very, very tickled that, you know, I didn't, you know, stunt myself. Even though I only had 0.2, I'm considering that I had a pretty good win for today. All right, folks, let's take a look at my day 11 results for my goals. So if you look right off the get-go, I have 7.5 hours of sleep with 0 times getting up. Yes, that means I'm making great progress in the area of sleep. I feel very rested right now, so I moved myself up to the better category on that. And then let's get into the, excuse me, let's get into the eating keto category. So again, I'm not doing really any kind of fasting right now that I'm tracking. My style of keto, you know, dirty / clean with as much emphasis on the, you know, the clean that I can get, but every now and then you might see like a processed food come in there. But, you know, I do try to make efforts to, you know, to keep that as close to the clean side as I possibly can. So as far as macros are concerned, I had 29 carbs yesterday. I mentioned that a little bit earlier in the video, and that wasn't my plan. But again, my goals this week were okay as long as I stayed on this, you know, spectrum. I didn't want to go any lower than 40, so I met that criteria for my week 2. The interesting thing is that if you looked at my macro ratios, they were very keto-centric, or based on what people try to target for keto, which is, you know, normally you want 75, 20, and 5%. You know, I ended up with 84 and 16%. So I still did pretty good on that. I did move myself down because yesterday I was in the beast category, and now I'm down into the the good. So I still did good, but I know I could do better, and I know it will be better anyway, because that's just a curveball for today, or for day 11. So my learning category, 2 videos. Actually, I told you 2, and I started to watch a 3rd one. So that was again because I started to look at the content of the first one. I didn't feel like it was appropriate at the time, so I ended up doing another video. So I moved myself up to the good category for that. So I probably Well, actually, if you remember last week, I moved myself all the way up anyway because I'm counting them for the week too, so I should maybe even be better on that. I'll probably move that over before I put that into the video. Tracking, same old, you know, killing it, putting everything into chronometer, you know, getting the exact values and stuff like that. So I'm really still tickled about how that's going. Meditation, I did fit 2 5-minute, you know, chill sessions in there where I got to relax and so forth. And last but not least, you know, the exercise category that I have on there, still not doing any kind of real exercise at this point. So anyway, that's it for my goals, folks. Let's take a look at my video recommendation. The day 11 video recommendation is another video by Dr. Boz. Surprise! It's about 12 minutes long. It's called The Truth About Keto Sweeteners Exposed by Dr. Boz. I wouldn't exactly call it an expose, so to speak. You know, it's interesting. It's a live video. You know, so this is one where, you know, her and one of, I think it used to be one of her patients that she had a lot of success with, and they, you know, talk about sweeteners the whole time. And of course, Dr. Boz, you know, gives, maybe you shouldn't do this, maybe you should do that. So, wow, my shirt's getting so loose that everything's just falling down. Anyway, they go back and forth talking about different sweeteners, and, you know, her, the other lady, she's basically like listing all these things that, you know, and she's tried like all these sweeteners that you see advertised and so forth. And Dr. Boz is like, maybe not on that one, you know, oh, that's such and such, and, you know, and so forth. It's a pretty interesting video. It's got a pretty easy format to follow for, you know, for this particular day. The video tomorrow, I think, by Dr. Ken Berry's going to be probably, you know, more detailed and, you know, and stuff. So I'll share that one then. But what's neat about this one is that as she's going through it, you find out a lot of things about how Dr. Boz has been, you know, how trying different sweeteners for her has caused some things. Like she was talking about when the first time she tried erythritol, it was like she had to run to the bathroom. She was like, oh, I can't do that, you know. And then she was talking about how her husband has a pretty severe allergy to stevia. So, and then, you know, they go back and forth, and there's a lot of good things in there. One big takeaway that I remember that I thought was very interesting is that there might be some sweeteners that don't affect your glucose, but they can most certainly affect your ketone, you know, ketones and how you're going up. So one thing I was scared about eating that cheesecake, you know, with the monk fruit in it is, and the reason I try not to do this is I'm always worried about blunting my ketones. Now my ketones did drop from day 10 to day 11. You know, they went from 1.2 to 1.0. So did it blunt it? I don't know. It's, you know, I think it'll be interesting at some point when, when in the future, maybe I could do some experiments with it. The other video that I looked at was by 2 Fit Docs, and they did this fasting comparison with like 4 different sweeteners, and it was pretty interesting. The only reason I didn't want to share that one is that, you know, when you got to the end, you know, all their ratings for those particular videos were just kind of like a middle of the road, like it could, it may not, but it did for me, it didn't for you. And I think it has a lot to do with what Dr. Boz said. She said it has to do with like insulin resistance. So where you are with insulin resistance, like if you're used to eating sweets and you're trying to, she said that if you're maybe a type 1 diabetic, and I'm stealing the video here for you, I don't want to tell you too much, but short-term misses, she said they're great, like if you're trying to wean yourself off, but ultimately perhaps maybe you should not do a whole lot of them, you know. And I thought that was, you know, pretty good. One interesting thing out of the video that, you know, I didn't think I would hear in the video was that she started talking about, you know, colas, you know, especially like dark colas and what they can do to your body and stuff like that. And she said in her mid-20s she stopped drinking cola, I think she said cola, but anyway, she switched over to drinking carbonated water, which I went, woohoo, I love carbonated water. So I stopped drinking soda or pop, whatever you want to call it. on March 16, 2009, just because I'm one of those people that when I drink liquids, a lot of times I'll just drink. So I'd find myself drinking three sodas, and even if they were diet, I was still not doing myself any justice. So I ended up, probably about 3 years ago, making my own carbonated water. Sometimes I'll buy it, but I ended up making my own. So at one point I'll show you guys how to do that. I found a guy on YouTube that shows you how to get your own little CO2 tank. You get a water bottle and you order like these three pieces, and within like 3 minutes you can have like a liter of carbonated water, and you can make it as fizzy as you want or as less fizzy as you want. And so that's what I typically do. I don't put them in my pitchers because the bottle I put them in is like another brand of water bottle. I guess I could peel off the label. So anyway, I was tickled about finding that little tidbit out about Dr. Boz in there. So go and check out the video. I think again it's a good one for for day 11. We'll see what Dr. Ken Berry says tomorrow. That's it for day 11, folks. Thank you for watching today's video. Please take time to like and subscribe to Keto with me. If you've got any comments or questions, please leave them below. And remember, folks, I'm not perfect. Be a coach, not a critic, and take care.